Hello, and welcome to Cape Breton Reads. I'm your host, Adam McNamara. Before we begin, we'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge that this show is filmed, produced, and written on Unama'ki, the unceded land of the Mi'kmaq people. Now, Unama'ki, Cape Breton, has been home to many writers throughout the years. It was here where the late Alistair MacLeod spent each of his summers writing his award-winning work. It's the current home to many well-known modern authors, and was home to the late author and journalist Silver Donald Cameron, who was actually the founding chairman of this broadcast station, Talil, here in Arishat, Ilmadam. Now, throughout Cape Breton, there are many writers' events such as the Cabot Trail Writers Festival, but Cape Breton is also a big exporter of many authors' works. Authors who are piecing together the past histories of Cape Breton, highlighting the vibrant, eclectic cultures such as Acadian, Gaelic, and Mi'kmaq, or those who are using the island's imagery as the backdrop for their story. And that is who we hope to feature here on Cape Breton Reads. So today in our show, we have author Richard Eagles of Sydney Forks. Eagles is a military veteran and a former coal miner who is also the author of 3 books, all set here in Cape Breton. Richard Eagles writes mostly in the horror genre, and his first book, which takes place in Inverness Highlands, is called Terror in the Highlands. In this book, Eagles writes of a threat living in an Inverness community, and the community must join forces or be torn apart. Now, I heard Eagles had so many good ideas for his first book that he immediately penned the sequel to it. I think he also has some upcoming shows with the Men of the Deeps planned, but we'll talk to him about that a bit later on in the show, and maybe he'll even play a few songs for us too. All right, folks, I hope everybody joining us is doing well. We here at the show thank you for tuning in today and welcome you to Cape Breton Reads. Our guest on the show today is Richard Eagle, author of Terror in the Highlands 1 and 2, and other books set in Cape Breton. Rick Eagles, welcome to Cape Breton Reads.
Thank you very much, Adam, and I really appreciate being here. And I'm happy to be able to talk about my book and the occurrences that happened before that.
Thanks. Sounds good. So let's talk about the occurrences that happened before that. You grew up in Glace Bay?
I did grow up in Glace Bay, and my father was a coal miner also, and my grandfather was a coal miner, and I had 5 brothers that worked in the mines also. So we're a coal mining family.
Coal mining family.
Yeah.
And you spent some time away before you came back and spent time as a coal miner in Sydney.
Yeah, like my father, when I come back from the armed forces, I had no work to go to. So my father said to me, well, why don't you go in the coal mine? He said, I can get you in the coal mine. And I said, I'll never work in a coal mine. I said, never. And I saw what it did to him, and I didn't want to end up that way, paralyzed and everything else. So I said, no. I said, I don't want to do that. So I left. I went to Ontario, and I worked up there for a little while. And I didn't like Ontario, so I wanted to come back home. And my wife did too. We got married up there in Ontario, and we had 2 kids there. And we come home, and we decided this was going to be our life now. And I knew there was only one way to go, and that was the coal mine. So that's what I did. I went to the coal mine and proceeded from there. And I got hurt a few times, and got in a bad car accident when I was around 52 years old, and hurt my back really bad. So I couldn't go back to the mines anymore.
Wow.
So they said, you have to retire. So I did, and but it wasn't because I didn't like my work. I did love my work, but I couldn't do it. The lifting and everything was too much for a bad back.
Yeah.
So I just didn't do it anymore.
Okay.
And took the retirement, and then my wife, she had a bad accident also, and she had to retire also. So it just went around the clock, it was just going to happen that way.
Quite the story.
Yeah.
A lot of overcoming some hardships.
We had a lot of hardships, yeah, and we got through it though.
Yeah.
Fine, married 56 years now, so.
Okay.
That proves it, I guess.
Yeah. And we were talking, quickly earlier, and you said that your wife was your inspiration.
Absolutely. Yeah, my wife is everything. You know, I'd be nothing without her. She's a very special person.
Okay.
And to put up with me made her even more special.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So when did you start writing? Who inspired you to write, first of all? Were you always a reader? Were you?
I was always a reader. I read all my life, mostly Stephen King and Dean R. Koontz and guys like that. And I loved their inspiration to me, you know, on the horror scene. I loved horror movies and horror books. So I went into writing, and I started my first book while I was in the mine. And I went along with that, and I thought it was pretty good. I sold it privately, going from house to house, and sold a bunch of books. So then I decided, when I did retire, that I would start writing again and try to get something out there that's decent, you know.
Okay.
That would follow along with something like King might come up with, you know.
But your first book was started while you were writing in the mines, like you were going.
That's right.
Would you be writing while you were like taking some time off in your truck, or would you be thinking about it while you worked?
No. Well, I was never in the truck.
Yeah.
But I was always underground.
Yeah.
For over 12 years altogether underground, and 13 years on the surface.
Yeah.
But no, I just came home from work, and I thought, you know, I just thought I'd write something about the mines, you know, and I did, and I wrote the book, and like I said, sales were good, but I didn't know how to go about publishing and that, you know. So anyway, when I went to one of the publishers in Sydney, he said that he didn't think the book was good enough. So I said, oh, okay. So that was all right, because his wife said it was great, you know. So that's okay. I went ahead and I started into Terror in the Highlands. I started writing that because I was talking to people and hearing broadcasts about people that died, especially around Johnson Road, I think it is, right in Sydney. And it was right near the tar ponds where they were. And people were dying left and right, and animals were getting deformed and everything else. And I clicked, and I said, now there's something I could deal with and make something out of, you know. And it was the animals being deformed and that. Yeah. So I thought, what a way for a monster to develop. And so anyway, that's what happened. And I started that, and it just went through my mind like crazy. And I think I wrote the book in 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
You know, and I wrote in longhand. So and my wife had to type the book afterwards. And so that's what I mean by her being my inspiration, is that I couldn't have done anything without her. So I got the book done, and she helped me get it published also. I had to go to British Columbia to find somebody that would publish it for me. I did that, and they were crazy about the book. They went crazy over it, and they said they wanted that book. And I said, okay. So they did it for me, sent it back, and that was it. It went crazy ever since. And I've been so happy, so proud. I was amazed, really, because I thought, there's no way that it's going to really sell big, you know. But it is.
It did.
And it still is.
Yeah. Congratulations. So that's this book right here.
That's the one.
Terror in the Highlands.
Yeah.
And when it came to the scenery of Cape Breton with the claw marks going through it, how did you decide that?
Well, actually, they did.
Okay.
You know, they had all pictures of the up on the Cabot Trail and that, and they picked. Okay. And the second book is the sequel, Terror in the Highlands 2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's as far as it goes right now, because I had the stroke about 3 years ago, and I had to start learning how to read again. And that was a very difficult time for me, because I lost my interest, my abilities to conjure up the tunes or the writing, so that it would be in tune with what I was thinking of, you know. And it went well, you know, but it's still that interest was not there like it was before.
Okay.
Before I was so interested in writing, I just wanted to get into the next one and the next one, and this was really hurtful to me, you know. But it's I'm hoping that the next few months that'll change, because I did start another book, and so I'm just waiting. There's no name for it yet, but it's another horror, and it's going to be a good one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's overcoming some
Yeah.
challenges as well.
Oh
with
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you so when you wrote your sequel to this book,
Yes.
what year did you release the sequel?
I think it was around 2017, around there.
Yeah.
And it went over well too, you know. I was hoping to have made it a little longer, you know, at least the thickness of this book here, but it didn't happen, because I think if you write as well as you can, it's not the amount of pages that you write, it's how well you put it on paper, which you've already put there. And I think that it must have been okay, because everybody's falling for it and they love it.
Quality, not quantity.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
the connection between Stephen King, we'll use him as an example, the author, how he writes in Maine. Most of his stories are set in his hometown and in that area. And for you, you know, also a horror genre author, most of your stories are set in, all of your stories are set in Cape Breton.
Everything is about Cape Breton.
And what made you want to do that?
Well, the reason is mainly is that, well, I mean, you can't pick a better place for horror movies or horror books or anything than Cape Breton, with the mountains and the valleys and the beauty of Cape Breton, you know. And the Cabot Trail has always been like God sent to me. No matter what country I was in, when I was with the armed forces and that, it didn't matter to me, because Cape Breton was always the most beautiful place on earth. And it still is.
Yeah. Do you find there's a contrast between having this beautiful place and then a monster fighting for?
Oh no, that just seems to go together.
Just seems to go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there seems to be that offset from it. Like, you know, you have the monster and his ability to bring people together, whether he knows it or not. But the people, they stick together in this book, and they fight this thing, and they have to conquer it in order for them to live in peace, you know, because there's too many people and animals and everything being destroyed by this monster that goes through the Cape Breton Highlands.
Very, very mysterious.
Yeah.
And also your books show a sense of community coming together.
That's what everything is about, community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Family is the most important thing in the world anyway, as far as I'm concerned. So this is really attributes to that, you know, and it shows the capabilities of people when they stick together. It's phenomenal.
And why is that so important in your writing?
Oh, that's everything.
Yeah.
I think that should be everything in everybody's minds, really.
Yeah.
Is being with family and working together to accomplish things that you probably never would have done. You know, and I'm a perfect example, I guess, of that, because I don't think anybody ever thought that I would ever be a writer, you know, because I was always either fighting or having a drink or something like that, and especially in the armed forces, you know, where you had to prove yourself every day, you know.
And you mentioned you were in the armed forces. Exactly where did you serve? What did you do?
Well, I served in Kingston, Ontario. I took my trade, which was auto mechanic, auto wheeled and track. So I took my course in Kingston, Ontario, and then they sent me to Germany. And but I didn't want Germany. I wanted to go to the eastern seaboard, you know.
And this would have been mid-'60s maybe, right? Or
oh, it'd be
70s.
1966,
Okay.
1964 to 1967 is when I served there. But I served 3 years before that with the Reserve Army, you know, and I was a drill instructor there. and I loved that so much that that's what made me go for the armed forces.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I really wanted to make some money because we were a very poor family, and I wanted to be able to take my girlfriend, who's my wife now. I wanted to be able to take her out and show her some good times and that, you know. And I thought that I was going to get that from being in the armed forces, but that didn't happen because we were getting $100 a month. And out of that $100 a month, I had to send $50 a month home to my family because they were poor.
Yeah.
And they needed that money, you know. And so that's just the way life went.
Yeah.
And but while I was overseas, I got around over there. You know, went to Holland and Belgium, England, France. You know, different countries, and I played the guitar a lot over there, and I sang a lot of country western songs. And there's another thing that the German people love country music, so every bar I would go into, and that's usually where I played, is at the bars. I would go into a bar and I'd play. I'd say, look, I'll tell you what. Do you mind if I play a couple of Hank Williams tunes, or anybody then?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, go for it, yeah. So I took out the guitar, and I started playing. And soon as I started playing a tune on the guitar, the table was full of beer. You know.
Big fans of the country music over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they loved it so much. That's what they would do. That's how they paid you, in a way. They would just load up your table with beer, you know. And I never turned that down.
Yeah.
So.
And as a writer who writes lyrics, you know, who plays lyrics and also who writes, do you find any interconnection or maybe dissimilarities between music and books?
No, I think that music brings out the story anyway, in different ways. That's all, you know.
Yep.
And I think when I did start playing a lot of Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, you know, and well, everybody all the older fellas, you know.
All the good guys, yeah.
All the good guys, yeah. And I love that music. And I played that. And when I come back from Germany, I went different places on the island here. I had one church out in Forshoe that I played, what, 4 or 5 years I played there, you know. And they were really good to me, and they loved the music. And it was good there too, you know. So a lot of experiences that way. In Big Pond, I played in Big Pond, and
cool.
Yeah,
lots of places. So back to, we won't get rid of the Army stories yet, though. You probably have a couple stories in the Army.
Oh yeah.
You probably had. I heard you had a close call in the Army where you got quite sick when you were stationed
Well,
in
when
Germany.
I first got to Germany, when I was in Zost, Germany, I was very weak, and I couldn't understand why I was so weak. You know, I didn't feel sick, but I felt overheated, and I felt very, very tired. You know, and I was over at the canteen, and I was coming back from the canteen, and I was just not feeling good. I was feeling very weak, so I went to the hospital there, and which is just around the corner. It was right in the barracks area, you know, and I went down there, and doctor examined me. He said, "My God," he said, "your both lungs are full. Both lungs."
So pneumonia you had, or what?
I had pneumonia,
okay.
and it was severe. He said that to the other doctor that was there. He said, "I don't think we can save him from this." He said, "It's that bad."
So what happened? What did they do? Yeah.
Well, for 3 weeks they had me in the hospital, and they were pumping the penicillin into me. I don't know how many times a day.
Wow.
And anyway, after about a week, I started coming around, I guess. And they said, "I think we're going to make it." So,
And it was a good story because you're here.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But that's another challenge there that you had to come out of. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to beat it, you know. And then of course I had to come back to the coal mines. And then and the cold and the damp and everything else in the coal mines, you were sick all the time. You know, I was sick like 4 months of the year. I'd be sick, and you couldn't take time off, so you had to go down in the mine sick. And because if you're sick, you don't get paid. You know, that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
So you had to live with it.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned the music you've been playing, I've been
Yeah.
curious to hear what your songs are like. So do you mind playing a song for us?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. I wrote a few of my own,
Okay.
and but we'll see what you think of them.
Yeah.
One of them, anyway, is it's a song actually that I made up myself. I wrote it myself, but I had it in the line of the Ghost Rider song, because that's one of the Johnny Cash songs that I like the most, you know. So I just changed the words.
Okay.
Yeah, and add a little bit in here and there, you know.
A bit of an ode
Yeah.
to Johnny Cash.
Oh yeah, in a way.
All
yeah.
right. Well, I can't wait. Can't wait
Yeah.
to hear it. I'm sure the folks at home will be interested and
Yeah.
excited to hear it too.
I hope so.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know what else to tell you about that. Like it was when I was in Germany. I did a lot of traveling over there, like from towns and towns and that. You know, like from one town to another, and that's where I bought my guitar over there.
Your first
My
guitar.
first guitar,
Yeah.
yeah. That was actually my second one, because I had one when I was home in Glace Bay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I started learning how to play the guitar, and I got along okay on it, you know. But when I got over in Germany, for some reason it just got a lot better, and so I picked up this guitar, and I didn't have enough money to pay for the guitar, so I had two of my buddies were with me, and they knew that I wanted one, you know, when they heard me play. So they said, well, why don't we check out the guitars at the instrumental store, you know. So I went down with them, and they looked at them, and I played a few guitars, and I picked one up, and it was like violin type guitar, you know. And I played that, a few tunes on it, and they loved it. And I left, and they came around the corner with the guitar. So. An old Cape Breton miner went down to the mine one day. Picked up his pick and shovel as he walked along his way. A boss man came up to him as upon the trip he strayed. He said, "You'll work a double, in the mine you're gonna stay. In the mine you'll stay, in the mine he stay. Down in the mine he stayed." He walked down in the deep, into the level he did go. A miner walking toward him was too tired to say hello. They passed each other slowly, and he heard that miner say, "Lord, send me down to hell. It's better than the cave." In the mine he stayed, in the mine he stayed, into the mine he stayed.
Up next on Cape Breton Reads, we're going to listen to a passage from Terror in the Highlands, Part 1. And here to read it is Deborah Froese.
Something is alive from the tar ponds of Cape Breton. In the mountains of the island, Dave Benny is about to face the most challenging horror of his life. A family from Ontario, vacationing in Cape Breton Highlands, is tested with terrors unimaginable to their own and anybody else's lifestyle. Big George lives in Cape Breton Highlands. His son and his son's family are soon to arrive home. The people of the small community of Inverness will be hunted and families will be torn apart. Joining forces, will they, can they defeat the threat and the insanity within the Great Hills? I'll read a little bit of chapter 1. It lay in the shadows of the giant pine tree with the snow all around the base, making it impossible for anything to see. The hair on its nose and chin quivered with excitement. Saliva ran from the hunter's mouth. This was even more than it had anticipated. The being was big as the hunter itself. The hunter could sense that the prey had no weapons. The smell was intoxicating. It was coming closer to the tree where the hunter lay. Suddenly, the hunter sprang from its lair, at once devouring the throat of its victim. Blood exploded everywhere. Tendons were ripped apart, muscle and bone eviscerated. Being crushed and torn apart, its neck separating from its torso. This was what the hunter was meant for, the best of all predators. It eats slowly from its prey, knowing that no other animal would dare interfere with its meal. Standing on the sidelines of the brush on all sides of the attack, they would not dare interrupt the hunter's meal, for to do so was to vent its anger, and its anger meant death to all around. It settled down to feast.
Rick, welcome back to Cape Breton Reads. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
So, going back, you mentioned that you had a first book that you didn't publish, but it was a book that you wrote. You know, it was before your Terror in the Highlands sets came out.
Right.
So, can you tell me a bit about this first book that you wrote? What was it called exactly?
It was called From the Deep.
Yeah.
And it's about a monster. And the monster is already in the mine. But it was, I guess, buried for years and years. And came back to life when the men got in around the wall. You know, they get in on the wall where you get all the coal from. When they started digging, they opened up this cave where the monster was. And it came out and started getting the men and killed almost all of them, except for 2.
Wow.
And they had to fight, and they were father and son-in-law that had to get away from this thing. So they did. They got away from them, and they finally were able to climb over a bank of snow because a bank of coal. I'm sorry, but the thing is, though, when they did go over the coal, what happened was they had an explosion in the mine at the same time, and it was right on the wall. So it was really terrible. So they had to get away from that also, because there was no air left. So they had to get out.
There's 2 scary things going on.
Yeah, yeah. So this monster followed them and went out after them.
Okay.
And they had to stop this thing. So that again, it's about family, sticking together, you know, and a little romance story in there also. Actually, it is a story about myself and my wife, and but I just put other guys' names on them, you know.
Yeah.
But it worked. It worked, and when I sold a lot of the books, I sold about 500 of them books.
Because you published it yourself, so you had to get around and...
Well, it's not so much that. It's like I couldn't even get any publisher to go along with it. So my wife worked at the hospital, and she got a girl that she knew there to type the book up for me, and to put a cover on it and everything.
Okay.
And it was more like a scribbler, you know.
Yeah.
But it worked, and well, like I said, 500 books sold.
Wow.
So it went very well.
Yeah.
And I was very proud of that, you know. But you had to go around from store to store and say, well, because you take like 2 or 3 books even, you know, and they'd say, well, I'll try them, you know. But then they call me back next day, your books are sold out. You want to get back in?
Nice.
Yeah.
Why do you think people resonate with your books? Why do you think people enjoy your books?
Well, I think that time, like the first book, it was more like I had my picture right on the cover of the book, and I wanted everybody to associate me with that book, you know, and because it was a coal mining book, to put it out in that case, like, you know, where there was a lot of reference, and it went over so well that I was amazed by that one myself, and I thought there'd be no problem getting it published, but the publishers around here, they didn't want horror, you know, so I said, well, I guess that throws that out the door, but that's okay, because I just went around, and when I retired, which was about 10 years later, really, when I got hurt, I decided that I would write. Bored sitting around sometimes, you know, so you write. And
writing process, you know, your first book wasn't published, you put that out yourself, then you have Terror in the Highlands 1, Terror in the Highlands 2, and then you have another book that
I started,
that you started.
I'm about 30 pages into it.
Yeah.
That's all.
But the writing process between all these books, when you start to imagine what your tale will be, how do you decide? What do you?
Well, I think of some place on the island, you know, that I visited, and like Shetty Camp and Inverness, Englishtown Ferry, places like that, you know, that something like that kind of goes with it, you know, the horror picture, you know.
Yeah.
And Kelly's Mountain. So, and this book that I'm writing now, on Kelly's Mountain, this thing, actually there's two bats are living in the mountain.
Okay.
Right? And when they're redoing the road, they moved some boulders, and it opened up this cave, and that's where they were. And they come back to life, and now they're attacking people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you'll like it. Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
So when does that book? When you plan any plans the next maybe a couple of years for that to be?
Well, I'm hoping that if I can get down to it and keep my conscience available for it, you know, I'll be able to push it out quicker, you know, and hopefully by the end of this year, maybe, or middle of next year, get a lot of it done, so you can have it on the road, selling by the summer.
Okay. Well, folks can keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, I've gotten letters back, or at least some messages on Facebook from Italy and from Spain.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And who's writing to you? What are they saying?
Well, the same thing, really, saying they read my books, and they love the books. Awesome. And where's the next one? They always say that.
They just want to read the next one. They want to hear more from Rick Eagles. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any inspiration to give or advice to an up and coming writer that you could maybe someone that's in their career has some extra time, has some extra imagination, and they want to focus that on something, or even maybe a newly high school graduate who's just maybe taking some English courses in college. Any advice?
Well, all I could say to anybody if they want to get into writing is just be honest about your writing, and don't try to make something that's impossible to believe. Like always, and when you're referring to a certain place or a certain thing that goes on, or is associated in any way with the book, don't try to make it ridiculous. It just can't happen that way, because people pick up on these things, and when you're putting in anything like description of medical problems, that people are having within the books and that, for God's sake, look it up, find out some information on it before you start putting something in there that you don't understand yourself. Because it's just going to make somebody think, you don't know what you're talking about.
Sometimes a little bit of research goes a long way.
Oh, long way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that much sometimes.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And the truth is sometimes more interesting than something you'd make up anyway. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I find that, like, a lot of the people that are in the book, you know, I always use my grandchildren's names in the books, and my wife's name, and people like that. You know, that easier to recollect.
Yeah.
And to put some kind of meaning behind.
Yeah. So people might have good stories within them in their life and
Yeah.
already have them to write about.
Why not use it?
Why not use it? Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
And so talking about that again, like why is writing beneficial to you? Is it beneficial because you get to maybe speak about these parts of your life and bring them to paper through pen, or?
Oh yeah, and not only that, it makes you feel closer to the people that read the books. You know, when somebody calls me, or they visit me, or they want to talk to me about my books, you know, they just want to say, you know, what is it that makes you want to do this? And I just refer back most of the time to my family and what it means to them, you know. And now my book, this book here, is going to be made into a movie, and Bill's getting that set up sometime in the future, and we're looking forward to that. Everybody is looking forward to that.
It reads like a movie, hey?
It
keeps
does.
you on the edge of your seat.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Wow.
And that's another thing that they refer to about the book too, is that they feel like they were right there, you know.
I can see why. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And it makes you feel good that people feel that way, you know, and it makes you want to write more. So I think if somebody is starting to write, they should try to accomplish that, you know, because if people are that interested in listening or reading your books, my God, that's the biggest compliment you can get.
So from being a coal miner, you know, to being a infantryman. Were you an infantryman, I guess?
Well, no, I was infantry, but I was also a mechanic, and I was with Royal Canadian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers.
Okay. But you still have some coal mining related experience. You're with Men of the Deeps. Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the Men in the Deeps, they're like my family now. These guys, they're all so talented, you know.
Yeah.
And when you get people like Nipper McLeod, Nipper has a voice of his own, and you just try to imitate him, and you can't, because he can hit notes that are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And the nicest guy you'll ever meet too. And there's so many guys that are like that, you know, with the Men in the Deeps. And it's the harmony. And Muse, he's the director, Stephen Muse, and he knows how to put the music together. Like I've never seen anybody do that before. But he puts all the people that are with the Men in the Deeps, and he gets all their voices harmonizing, you know, and that's what makes the Men in the Deeps. Now we have Big Jim McClellan, and he's a storyteller, and he gets on stage and he'll tell you stories like you've never heard before, and he's 90 years old.
Wow. Yeah. So
You
you're
know.
probably getting a lot of inspiration from
Oh,
these.
yeah, he's a great man.
And I guess why did you join Men of the Deeps? What was your reason to?
I think everybody that ever worked in the mines always wanted to be with the Men in the Deeps.
Yeah.
Because they're so well known, and they're so loved by everybody.
It's almost a legacy now.
It is.
Yeah.
And to be in that is quite an honor. Yeah.
So I guess, you know, from being a coal miner,
Yeah.
you were a Canadian Armed Forces,
Yeah.
stationed in Germany.
Right.
A few life challenges and hurdles, but you're still here.
Still here. Yeah. I don't know how I'm doing it sometimes, but I'm still doing her.
You're still doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
And you got 3 books out and another one to be
Yeah.
released soon.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure having you on Cape Breton Reads, and maybe before we go, you can play us another tune.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds
I will.
good.
Okay. Thank you
Thanks.
very much, Adam.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, buddy.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Cape Breton Reads. I'm going to sing a song about Johnny Cash. At my door the leaves are falling, a cold wild wind will come. Sweethearts walk by together, and I still miss someone. Though I never got over those blue eyes, and I see them everywhere. And I miss those arms that held me when all the love was there. And I wonder if she's sorry for leaving what we'd begun. There's someone for me somewhere, and I still miss someone. I go out on wild parties and look for a little fun, and I find a darkened corner, 'cause I still miss someone. Oh, I never got over those blue eyes, and I see them everywhere. And I miss those arms that held me when all the love was there. And I wonder if she's sorry for leaving what we'd begun. There's someone for me somewhere, and I still miss someone. Oh, I still miss someone.
Welcome back to Cape Breton Reads. We're again joined by Deborah Froese, who's going to be reading us another passage from Terror in the Highlands, but this time from part number 2, Terror in the Highlands 2.
Thanks, Adam. I'm going to read the back of the book of Terror in the Highlands 2. Well, it's back. Something again has traveled to the highlands of Cape Breton from the tar ponds of Sydney. It's bigger and faster than the monster of just a month or so before. The Morgan family and friends have to figure a way to stop this monster before it literally destroys the island. Big George Morgan is on death's bed, and it's debatable whether he will make it. For some reason, everything seems centered on the Morgan home. What will it take to outmaneuver this thing from hell? And now I'll read a part of chapter 1. The hunter was huge, at least 12 feet tall and probably weighing almost 1.5 tons. The hairs on its body were sparse, giving it a skeletal-like appearance. Its forearms were as thick as the body of a German shepherd, and it could run at amazing speeds. Its eyes bulged out of protruding sockets. Its teeth were an average of 9 inches long and razor sharp, and it had hideous nails on all 4 paws. The jaws on the creature had many loosely articulated parts, allowing the jaws opening to exceed a 3-foot maw. Just the smell of humans was enough to initiate its feeding frenzy, making its bloodlust come to an ultimate high. It was of full growth now and hungry. It would feed.
Thanks for joining us today on Cape Breton Reads. I'm your host, Adam McNamara. To get in touch with myself or the television channel, you can email talil@talil.tv or myself at adammcn33@gmail.com. And thanks for joining us on Cape Breton Reads.